Welcome back to the Programming Lines podcast. Today with Jeb Baugh. Before we get into any questions, can you just tell us about yourself?
Yeah, I'm originally from North Dakota. I lived in Texas for a large part of my life as well. I think that's shaped kind of my worldviews, and I'm back in North Dakota for college. I go there for aviation, and I've been making political content for about 2 months. I started doing it after a Turning Point USA event at University of North Dakota. Glenn Beck was speaking, and I asked him, why are we supporting Israel when Israel's doing all sorts of weird and odd and just bad stuff in general to us?
Just starting off, I was wondering, since we're here at, TPUSA or AmFest, how did you find Charlie?
How did I find Charlie? Well, I mean, I grew up watching a lot of Ben Shapiro, Louder with Crowder, when I was about probably your age, I would say. And, Charlie Kirk just kind of fits in with, those people. I think the direction Charlie was going before his death was a little different than, say, like someone like Ben Shapiro would be going. But Charlie is definitely a very influential leader in the conservative movement.
Yeah.
And then how did his death shake you? Did it
I see it as that's an attack on anyone like you or me. I mean, they literally executed Charlie Kirk in front of our faces alive. And it's terrible. I mean, I didn't know what to think. I couldn't believe it at first.
Yeah. It hit us pretty hard too, because we had the opportunity to meet him a couple times, and boys got to ask him questions at a couple of his events.
Yes, we did.
He's we live here in Phoenix, and so we got to go to maybe more of his events than a lot of people would, and it was just like very surreal. Like, how could this happen? We just found ourselves drawn to a lot of his content because of that. And I think that leaves a little bit of a gap now in the conservative movement, but
yeah,
we can get into that.
Almost like the conservative movement is like split in half, There's America First, and there's like MAGA, I would say.
Yes.
Speaking of that, you have called yourself an America First person. To the viewers, what exactly does that mean?
I would say it's putting America and Americans first, and that's Americans that have actually lived here, bringing back manufacturing jobs to the U.S., rebuilding the middle class, stopping immigration, I'd say, and stop sending our money overseas to foreign countries. Put our money back into America and the people who actually build this country.
Okay.
Nice.
America First sounds great. It kind of sounds like Make America Great Again. But what are some of the key differences, do you think? Because there is like a little bit of a split or a fracturing going on between maybe MAGA and America First. And in your view, like, what are some of the key differences?
Yeah, well, I used to really like Trump, to be honest. In 2016, I was like 8, or I was like 10 or 8 or something. And I was like, I really like Trump. I mean, I was like, this is our guy. He's the guy. Like, Trump is good. But I think now Trump is the same thing that he sought to destroy. You can even look at his approval ratings from, January compared to now. I mean, Trump's really gone downhill. I mean, we got the 50-year mortgages. I mean, the whole Epstein debacle. That was really weird how he didn't just, release them. And I think MAGA is more of that boomer neocon mindset now, where America First is more of this younger generation who want to rebuild the middle class and actually want to put true Americans and American workers first.
Yeah. I'll say it definitely has gone downhill, especially with MAGA. That was a big thing,
and it didn't happen.
Yeah. They started posting every single day about what they're doing, and now it's just stopped.
Yeah.
Nothing's been posted.
I mean, I think we had one food coloring removed or something like that.
Yeah.
No more Red 40, Max. It's one of your favorites, right?
Well, I do think I think RFK has been in a lot of where they've been sued or something. Probably, I think a lot lately, right? So that's probably why they haven't been posting as much.
I think they're definitely caught up in a lot of administration and bureaucracy trying to get things done, but it definitely seems like the marketing or the talk about MAGA has died down. And then I would say similarly, the area that I probably am most disappointed with at the moment with the Trump administration is Doge has been essentially disbanded.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I was very pumped to see how we take $1 trillion out of our budget in a year. And now it's dissolved.
Yep.
And they started uncovering a lot of fraud, which was interesting and exciting because
nobody got fired or whatever.
Yeah, no, there's no indictments. Nobody's in prison. All this fraud, all this waste, people, endorsing, sending money specifically overseas for gay and lesbian endorsement in Pakistan, and nobody is in prison. I don't understand how this stuff happens. So anyway, I think for me, Doge is a bit of a disappointment. Well, how about from a America First person?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Everything you said, 100%. Okay. Yeah, Doge got shut down. I mean, I was looking forward to this every day. They're taking stuff out.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
What? Sorry.
Go ahead.
You can go.
Wait, what?
I was just going to say they were off
insist.
to a great start with like $1 billion a day in wasteful spending, and then it just died. Yeah.
So, what is your take on the Epstein files?
Whoa.
Because those things were like recently released, and a lot of people are very disappointed because most of the stuff is redacted, like 95% of it.
Well, I think the Epstein files, and it's not some Democrat hosts. The reason they cannot release the Epstein files, it's not Democrat, it's not Republican. I think it's because Jeffrey Epstein was working for a foreign government to blackmail our politicians to push that foreign government's agenda.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, but now, I guess just in recent days, they've been releasing them in batches.
Mhm.
And what I've seen out so far as well, a lot of like photos, mostly Bill Clinton,
Yeah.
but no big surprise maybe, but a lot of redactions. So I understand why they want to redact the names of the victims and everything. That makes total sense, but is nothing really meaningful seemingly yet. And so, yeah, I think most Americans probably understand some of the redactions, but we want to get to the bottom of like, is there some coercive international leverage that is at play here through Mossad or whatever? And I don't know if we're ever going to know for sure.
Yeah, I don't think we ever will know. And I mean, I'm not really surprised by that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely weird that they say like that they are like they basically said they were going to release them, and then they hadn't really released them. So then Congress said that they had to release them, and now they released them, but it's basically just like black lines effectively over everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sus. Very sus.
Do you have a channel like?
I do. Mainly big on Instagram. It's just Jeb Baugh, JebBaugh.
Oh, okay. Well, I was wondering, like, since you're pretty young, in most people's eyes, how can like you say to other people like to speak out their voice?
Well, I think making content is very important, but I think the biggest thing that young people could do, or young couples, is I think we need more intelligent people having kids in America. I think the most intelligent people are the ones who don't have as much kids, but I see like all the wrong people always have a bunch of kids. So I think young intelligent people need to have a lot of kids because that's the future of our country.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I think we need to stop immigration. I think we need a complete ban on like immigration.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah, like from
immigration in general, or like
I
illegal?
think legal and
immigration?
illegal. Take a
Really?
10-year pause on all immigration. Yeah.
Interesting.
Huh?
Okay, that's a controversial take.
It is.
Very controversial take.
So maybe we can start with this one. So this is an America First sort of tenet, like halt immigration, get our stuff under control before we like open our borders and open our doors, maybe. And so you think around 10 years will let us do that, and that's stopping legal and illegal.
I think we need to get rid of the Hart-Taylor Act,
Mhm.
okay? Because we need to be able to pick and choose who we let into our country. It shouldn't just be a free-for-all, anyone can come. A Swedish immigrant shouldn't have the same. A Swedish and Somali immigrant shouldn't have the same opportunity to come to America. I see yes, because obviously each of those people is going to bring different values to our country. One being better than the other.
Yeah.
So I think we need to repeal the Hart-Taylor Act. And honestly, just like a 10-year pause on all immigration. Get everyone in here accounted for, because there's only so many jobs, there's only so many houses, and if we keep just flooding people into our country, it's going to be less for actual Americans and people who have built this country and that have lived here for generations.
Yeah, it basically boosts the demand on the supply-demand curve, right? And then so
It's all about supply and demand.
You could point to a lot of things that are impacting inflation, but certainly immigration's got to be part of that equation.
Interesting.
So let me ask you this. This is like a controversial question, but when you say, well, maybe a Swedish and a Somali immigrant shouldn't be looked at the same way. Now, a lot of people would say,
That's racist,
whoa,
right?
that's racist, right?
Eh?
So how do you...
Well,
how do you-
it's just obvious. It's kind of common sense. Who would you rather have as your neighbor? A Somali family or a Swedish family? And it's like, who would you let in their country? We should be able to have the right. America isn't just a country where anyone from anywhere in the world can just live in and prosper and plunder the lands. It's like, no, you got to provide back to America, assimilate. And America is a Christian nation, and you should respect that and be a part of that.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So, speaking of Somalians, this is actually one of the clips I saw of yours was you, that went viral, I think, was you got in a car accident with a Somalian?
Yeah, Somalian rear enemy. I was like, why the hell are Somalians? Sorry for my language, but why are Somalians in America, especially North Dakota and Minnesota? I mean, out of all places, that's
Yeah.
like oldest states. So yeah, it's like, why are these immigrants in this country, especially like Somalians?
Mhm.
They are systematically more on welfare, take more from the government.
Yeah.
Commit more crimes and stuff. And it's like not racist. Look at those facts. That's literally just the facts.
Right.
These foreign NGO, I mean not foreign, these NGOs are getting money. I mean, such as I called out one of them, Lutheran Social Services,
Mhm.
is getting like I think it's like $2,500 for every Somalian that they bring over.
Yeah.
And they give them housing and stuff like that. And that's money. That's tax dollars from the government they get to bring these people over.
Right.
And they all have it as like it's empathetic and nice, but really you're just hurting the actual communities and people that have lived there for generations.
Right. Yeah, and it's almost like, yes, of course, like people that see this conversation will say, "Oh, you can't say that, it's racist," but it is based upon facts. We put out some content recently, and it was fact-based about what's happening in Minnesota. I grew up in Minnesota, so I'm familiar with the state and what Tim is doing there. And the fact is that it's something like 83% of Somalians are on welfare, 89% of them if they're a family. And so 80 to 90% of all of the Somalians that have come in are on welfare. So they're a net drain on the taxpayers of the city. And then what I find strange about that is 1.5% of the population roughly is got such a foothold on the politics in that area, right? They've elected a number of officials. You got Ilhan Omar. And so I don't know what to make of it. It's almost like there's this like guilt-led compassion by some of the leadership in Minnesota. And maybe you saw this, but the mayor of Minneapolis was at a press conference and he started speaking Somalian.
Yeah, I saw that. Met Jacob Frey. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Like what?
No.
Like what do you?
Yeah.
What do you make of this?
Yeah, like how is like, do you know like about the Omar Feta and Jacob Frey? Like Omar Feta was a part of one of the Somali clans,
Mm-hmm.
and then Jacob Frey, Jewish guy, put the two Somalian groups against each other because
Okay.
I'm pretty sure Omar Feta was of the Darwe clan,
Okay.
and shoot, I forget the other name, but Jacob Frey pretty much got all the other clan, which is the majority of the Somalians in Minneapolis, to go against him, and that's how he won the mayoral race.
Okay.
But yeah, like I don't know, like he's speaking Somalian. Like how is he the mayor of Minneapolis? Like it's literally, I mean, I don't know why this is happening. Why is this happening? You think? Like, why is this happening?
I think it's some kind of like white man guilt. I don't really know. Like this has been something, and this is why we're so excited to talk to an America First person, because we're trying to unpack some of this ourselves and make sense of it, because it's hard to make sense of. But like we put out a couple of posts recently that ended with you should thank a white guy today.
Oh
Remember?
yeah, I did.
And part of that was we were just looking at data around the contributions. Like, for example, white men are the only demographic in the country that pay more in taxes than their.
I think Asian men too.
Asian men, yes, but they're like 2.5%.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are.
So like materially paying more than their demographic in the population are white men and Asian men, yes. And so it's just funny that they're also the ones that are attacked constantly about not, being racist, being supremacist, and all of this. And then meanwhile, we also looked at data over the course of the last 100 years, and the share of white men in the top 1% of the population has declined from about 98% down to 53%.
Really? Yeah.
And that's just facts. And
they hate us, but they want to come to our countries and our communities too. I mean.
Yeah. And okay, and so part of America First is like enough with that.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
100%.
Yeah.
It's like enough. This needs to come to an end. We need to get to the root cause of who's funding this and who's putting this out there.
How is this happening? Because the numbers are on the side of, let's just say, white Christians in this country, and yet somehow all of these other sort of contrary belief systems and ethnicities are coming in and bringing their culture in, and like with the maybe intent of taking over the culture. And so why would we let that happen?
Because we've become too tolerant, I think, and we're scared of offending people.
Yeah.
I think that is pretty much the narrative post World War II, is scared to offend people and super tolerant, because if we're not super tolerant and we offend people, then we're pretty much Hitler, which isn't true. But you know what I mean?
Right. We've been called. What have we been called, boys?
Oh
Bad
my
names.
goodness. So
I don't actually know if we should mention all of them.
Yeah,
they
I
may
don't
not
think
be
we should.
entirely
Yeah,
kid
maybe not.
friendly.
Maybe not. But you must get called a lot of stuff on your social media.
Yeah, I've had a lot. Honestly, most of my comments are very positive.
Really?
Very, I'd probably
that's
say
good.
Lucky.
95% of my comments are very positive.
Oh, wow.
Multi-stuff,
Lucky.
yeah.
Wow, what's that like? That would be wild.
yeah, ours is what,
The
like
opposite.
5%?
The fact
Yeah.
that we are like amazed that you have nice comments is so strange.
I
People
think.
hate us.
I mean, I know. I think the Overton window has definitely shifted.
Mhm.
I mean, the stuff that someone like myself is talking about 5 years ago, I probably would have been kicked out of college, to be
Yeah,
honest.
right.
But
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and I think that's great that people are allowed to talk. I mean, I think Trump being president has helped that. Which I mean, how do you guys feel about Trump?
Mostly good. I think he's doing like. There's no other candidate that would have been
I agree.
better than him at the time. I think in general, like we're aware of his moral discretions and some of that are not ideal. There are certain policies we don't like. For example, we've covered the 50-year mortgage. That's not really good for Americans long term. We talked about Doge and all of that. So yeah, but in general, like he is doing some things that we highly agree with, like securing the border, which he's doing. I think deportations, we'd like to see him being done more aggressively and more
100%.
quickly. I think he's doing a better job in terms of foreign relations. Of course, we're still sending money like this. Even
Ukraine war is like still going and stuff.
yeah, that's
like
still
that.
going. But he's largely negotiated the end to a number of conflicts globally. We're hoping that Ukraine can get settled as well. But Russia doesn't have anything to bargain. Like they have a pretty much powerful position in this.
They're probably
Yeah.
going to get whatever they want.
Yeah.
I think the war should never happen. I mean, it shouldn't have. I mean, I think
The which?
the Ukraine war. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it should have never happened. I think
Well, the only reason why it still is going is basically just because, well, mainly the U.S. and then a little bit, I guess,
of
of
Europe.
Europe
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
like funding Ukraine.
And like it's so funny to me because like the European politicians, left or like right, which the right wing parties in Europe really aren't that right wing, but they'll be so worried about Russia invading them, stuff like that. But they are literally being invaded by the third world,
Yeah.
and it's being encouraged and subsidized. And whatever you subsidize, you create more of.
Yeah.
So I always find that ironic.
That's a great point. That's something else that we've covered a lot and gotten a lot of hate for. But when you do subsidize something, typically you get more of it. And so homelessness,
Yeah.
welfare,
Mhm.
SNAP,
Mhm.
all these kinds of programs that we put money into, the demand for the programs increases. And that's, and then the liberals come into our chat and they're like, well, that's because people need it. Well, no, like if you had an investment, why would you put money into an investment that produces the opposite outcome of what you want? Like you invest more money into stocks that go down? No, you want things that are going to go up. But nonetheless, okay, back to America First, because I think the boys are not as familiar with the themes of America First and as probably I am. And so a lot of these questions are maybe more curiosity for me. But
yeah.
what are some other key tenets of the America First movement? So immigration, you mentioned.
Immigration, that's point number one. Demographic change, across the U.S. And when you lose the demographics of a nation, you lose the whole complete idea of the nation, I think.
Yeah.
And America was founded as like a white Christian nation. I
Yeah.
mean, the founding fathers really said white men of good faith.
But I thought
I
thought diversity was our strength.
Yeah, see, that's the whole thing. They always say diversity is our strength, which
No.
obviously we've seen the failed experiment of multiculturalism in the West.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say demographics change is a crucial big issue, and I think the biggest thing we can do is have kids. I think that's the biggest thing anyone can do. They need to have a lot of kids. The destruction of the middle class more and more every day. I mean, we used to build stuff in America. We don't do that anymore.
Right.
And we did that because we wanted simply cheaper goods.
Mm-hmm.
But the cheaper goods mean nothing if you lose your jobs and your community.
Yeah.
And then also I would say sending money on just dumb stuff. I mean, we're sending money overseas. We have so many just dumb programs.
Mhm.
I mean, and they don't make sense.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
But, yeah.
So America First. When I think of America First, I do think of. I can't help but think of the Nick Fuentes, the Groypers. So are they all? Is this all synonymous?
Well, I would say, Nick is an influential part in the America First movement. I wouldn't consider myself personally as like a Groyper. I think the left and the right could come together, to be honest. I think if the right got rid of this idea of hating everyone equally like we have bigger enemies, some bigger than others.
Mhm.
And I think if the left stopped this just total ludicrous idea of helping everyone at the cost of the native person, the community, the left and the right could come together. I have friends of everyone. I have friends that are some leftists, not a bunch. I have some friends that are Muslim. But I think we realize that we have a lot more common and we have a lot more problems together. We cannot let people divide us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what does it take to be a Groyper? What does that mean?
What it takes to be a Groyper? I don't know if I can answer that 100% because I myself would say I'm America first, but I don't know if I like Nick Fuentes.
Yeah.
I agree with him on most things. I'm not a Catholic like he is. I don't think America should be a Catholic nation.
Okay.
I think it should be freedom of religion to a certain degree. Majority Christian,
Sure.
100%. But I agree with Nick on most things, but I don't know if I can answer 100% what it takes to be a Groyper.
Okay. Fair enough. Now, Nick is probably one of the most controversial figures in all of politics right now. He's been blowing up everywhere. Obviously, he's been with Tucker, and he's had feuds with Candace, and he was on Piers Morgan and all of that. But he's said some pretty wild things. And as somebody who I've probably watched several hours of his content, but not maybe enough to understand his views deeply. And he has said some wild things like admiring Hitler, Stalin. And so I'm curious if are these just rage bait things to pull people in, or is there truth behind what he says?
Well, I think Stalin was a terrible dude. I think he was more or less saying that he admires Stalin because Stalin took a very farm-oriented rural country into a world superpower, a lot of industry. But I do think Stalin was terrible. Hitler, on the other hand, I think, I wouldn't say he's I would treat him more or less, I don't think should be a damn figure. I would treat him more or less like Napoleon. And, he built the country very good. He built their economy from, people being homeless, unemployment being rampant. To unemployment being basically zero in only 6 years, before the war started. And I think he is a misjudged figure in history, to be honest.
Interesting.
I do.
Wow.
Do you still think he's bad though because World War II and
I don't think
stuff?
he necessarily caused World War II 100%. I think history is history is not like Star Wars, and a lot of the narratives today is that it's like Star Wars, which might be like Star Wars is that everything's 100% good guy or 100% bad guy.
Yeah.
Which it's not. You got to look at both sides. You do got to look at both sides, and people have certain narratives that they'll push because certain narratives benefit themselves, while other narratives will benefit someone else. So you got to look at both sides of the story. I think Hitler is a misjudged figure in history.
Interesting.
I'm not saying that he's a great guy.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that he's the worst guy ever to exist. I'd say the worst guy to ever exist probably Mao Zedong, to be honest.
Yeah, Mao. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's maybe another question I have is today communists are almost praised. Oh, you're a communist. Oh, cool. That's super awesome. We'll start a political action committee and they get funding and everything. And then there's fascists who are sort of looked at as evil, right? Largely because of affiliation with Hitler and Mussolini, maybe. They're both ends of the spectrum politically, but one is almost embraced and one is damned. And the one that is embraced is responsible, at least statistically, for way more misery and death. And so have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, I have looked at that. And that's a very interesting take. Communism, it's a lot easier. It's a lot more international.
Mm-hmm.
It can be copy and paste, and people can be controlled a lot easier. Well, say fascism, for example, is a very nationalistic ideology,
right?
And it isn't exactly copy and paste country to country. Liberals and a lot of our ideology today, mainstream, it's very liberal ideology. So that communist Marxist rhetoric isn't exactly disencouraged through different institutions that we have. Schools, media, stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, I just find it interesting. I wouldn't consider us fascists or communists, but I find the political, the sort of bookends of political ideology, one being sort of okay and the other being evil is
It's very weird. When communism has caused way more deaths than
way
fascism.
More. Yeah.
Well, I was going back to World War II. What do you actually think caused it?
What do I think caused World War II? Well, Germany, how World War II started, they wanted the Danzig corridor, which was basically a little area there was East Prussia, which was over here, and then Germany was over here, and then Poland was right here. And they had the Danzig corridor, and in Danzig, it was ethnically German. And Hitler pretty much wanted the Danzig corridor to connect East Prussia with the rest of Germany. And he tried to make a lot of peace with Poland. He never wanted to go with Poland. He never wanted to go with Britain. Hitler even said that multiple times. And
Yes.
he then had to invade Poland because Poland would not give it up. And Hitler's whole premise, disagree or agree with it, he wanted to unite all the German people under one nation. And so he invaded Poland, and then Britain guaranteed Poland, obviously, and so did France. And then that's how World War II started. But was it really over Poland? Because if you look at after World War II ended, guess what happened to Poland? It became a Soviet Union puppet state, and no one talked about it.
Yeah.
So that's how World War II started. That's the narrative because of Poland.
Interesting.
Expansion.
From what I've heard, though, I've heard that he really. I do agree. I don't think he wanted to face the UK. But from what I've heard, he really wanted.
He did want to go with Russia. He
really wanted Russia.
did.
So
He
he
wanted-
did kind of start it
he realized
because he
that-
wanted to go over there.
He realized that Bolshevism was a threat to Europe and Christianity.
We could probably unpack that in a whole other podcast.
Oh.
I appreciate this conversation a lot because I think a lot of people are nervous to express their views, and hopefully this will become more prevalent where people can express their views, and that's how you end up getting to the best ideas is pressure
Debating
testing.
and talking, yeah.
So we really appreciate you coming on.
Had a lot
And
of fun.
then where can people find you to support you?
Yeah, Instagram is probably my biggest. It's just Jeb Baugh, JebBaugh.
Okay, well, thank you for coming on.
I had a great time. Thank you guys for having me on.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.